The messenger's challenge, the crystalline towers of Silvara Prime, pierced the amber sky like daggers aimed at the heavens. Commander Maya Chen took a deep breath of the planet's metallic-tasting atmosphere and steadied herself. The massive obsidian gates of the Imperial Palace loomed before her, their surfaces etched with the history of 1,000 conquered worlds. Earth was supposed to be the next. Maya was no warrior. She was a diplomat, the last one Earth had sent after all the others had failed or disappeared. But she was also something the Sylvan Empire had never encountered before, a human who didn't fear death. "State your purpose, lesser species," rumbled the guard, a towering figure with iridescent scales and 6 limbs clutching various weapons. The translator implanted behind Maya's ear rendered the clicks and growls into comprehensible speech. "I am Commander Maya Chen of Earth," she declared, her voice unwavering despite the weapon pointed at her chest. "I come to speak with Emperor Vorax." The guard's compound eyes flickered with what might have been amusement. The Emperor does not speak with food. Maya had expected this. The Sylvans had made their intentions clear. Humanity was to be harvested, their genetic material and resources absorbed into the Empire. Negotiations had failed. Military resistance had proven futile. The Sylvan warships now orbited Earth, their weapons capable of sterilizing the planet's surface within hours. "Tell your Emperor," Maya said slowly, pulling from her pocket a small crystalline device that pulsed with blue light, "that I bring knowledge he cannot afford to ignore." The device was a bluff, a quantum data core filled with encrypted nonsense. But the Sylvans revered knowledge above all else. It was the foundation of their empire's power. The guard's eyes fixed on the device, mandibles twitching in what Maya had learned was a sign of uncertainty. Minutes later, she was being escorted through corridors that seemed to bend and shift as she walked. The palace interior was a biological marvel, half-grown, half-built, with walls that breathed and floors that adjusted to the weight of those walking upon them. The throne room was a vast chamber that stretched beyond what seemed physically possible. Thousands of Sylvans stood in perfect formation, creating a living corridor that led to a massive organic structure at the far end. Upon it sat Emperor Vorax, his form nearly twice the size of the guards, with a carapace that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. "So," the Emperor's voice resonated through the chamber without him seeming to speak, "the humans send a final messenger before they accept their fate." Maya approached until the guards crossed their spears, blocking her path. She was close enough now to see the Emperor's eyes, 8 obsidian orbs that reflected no light. "I come with a proposition," Maya said, keeping her voice steady. "One that will benefit the Sylvan Empire far more than the destruction of my world." The Emperor's carapace shifted, patterns flowing across its surface in what Maya recognized as amusement. "Your species has nothing to offer that we cannot simply take." "I offer a challenge," Maya countered. "One based on your own laws." A ripple of clicks and hisses spread through the assembled Sylvans. The Emperor leaned forward slightly. "You speak of laws you cannot understand, human." "I speak of the right of succession," Maya said. The words acted like an electric current through the room. The guard nearest to her took an involuntary step back. Maya had spent years studying the Sylvan Empire, learning everything about their culture, biology, and laws. There was one obscure tradition that had been their undoing in the past, the right of succession. Any being could challenge the Emperor if they possessed knowledge the Emperor did not. If they won, they would take the throne. If they lost, they would be consumed personally by the Emperor, their memories and knowledge absorbed directly. No non-Sylvan had ever invoked this right. The risk was too great, the chance of success too slim. "You dare." The Emperor's voice was quieter now, more dangerous. "I dare," Maya replied. "Unless you fear what I know." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds. The Emperor raised one massive limb, and silence fell instantly. "Very well," he said after a long pause. "The human invokes the right. Prepare the synaptic chamber." Maya was escorted to a small antechamber, where a Sylvan in robes approached her. "The right has not been invoked in 7 generations," the Sylvan said in a voice that sounded almost like singing. "Do you understand what awaits you?" Maya nodded. "I will be connected to the Emperor's consciousness. We will compete in a battle of knowledge and will. If I win, I become Emperor. If I lose, my consciousness is absorbed, and your physical form consumed." The robed Sylvan added, "There is no return for the defeated." "I understand," Maya said, though her mouth had gone dry. The preparation was brief. Maya was led to a chamber where a pulsing organic mass hung from the ceiling. The Emperor already stood beneath it, his massive form dwarfing her. "Last chance to beg for mercy, human," the Emperor said as tendrils descended from the mass above. Maya looked up at him, at the creature who had ordered the deaths of millions, who planned to harvest her entire species. "Humanity doesn't beg." The tendrils attached themselves to both Maya and the Emperor, connecting at the base of the skull. Maya gasped as foreign sensations flooded her mind. She could feel the Emperor's consciousness, ancient, vast, and predatory, pressing against her own. "Now, human," the Emperor's thoughts resonated within her mind. "Show me this knowledge you claim to possess." Maya didn't respond with words. Instead, she opened a part of her mind she had prepared for this moment. The Emperor surged forward, eager to consume whatever secret she held. What he found stopped him cold. Maya had brought no secret technology, no hidden weakness of the Sylvan fleet. What she brought was something the Emperor couldn't comprehend: complete and detailed knowledge of human emotion. The Emperor's consciousness recoiled as it encountered concepts alien to Sylvan experience: empathy, compassion, self-sacrifice, love. The emotional complexity of a species that had risen from prey to predator, from warmongers to peacemakers, from conquerors to conservationists. What trickery is this? The Emperor's thoughts were chaotic now. Maya pressed her advantage, flooding the connection with the full spectrum of human experience. The heights of joy, the depths of grief, the complexities of morality that defined her species. "This is humanity," she projected. "This is what you would destroy." The Emperor's consciousness fragmented, unable to process the emotional data. Sylvans had evolved from hive-like ancestors. Their emotions were rudimentary, focused on dominance and survival. The intricate tapestry of human emotion was overwhelming, incomprehensible. Maya felt the Emperor's grip on the connection weakening. She pushed harder, forcing more and more of humanity's emotional spectrum through the link. The memories of her first love, the grief of losing her parents, the pride of her military accomplishments, the fear she felt standing in this alien palace, and the hope she carried for Earth's future. The connection between them began to shift. Where the Emperor had been dominant, now Maya's consciousness expanded. She began to access the Emperor's memories. Millions of years of Sylvan history, the rise of their empire, the conquests of countless worlds. And then she found something unexpected: fear. The Sylvans weren't expanding because they were conquerors by nature. They were running from something, consuming resources and genetic material to evolve rapidly enough to face some greater threat. The realization gave Maya pause, but she couldn't afford mercy. Earth's survival depended on her victory. With a final surge of will, Maya pushed the most complex human emotion of all through the connection: forgiveness, the ability to understand harm done and choose to move beyond it. The Emperor's consciousness couldn't process the concept. The contradiction was too great. The connection shattered. Maya collapsed to the floor, gasping. The tendrils retracted from both her and the Emperor. Around them, the assembled Sylvans had fallen silent. Emperor Vorax stood motionless for a long moment, then slowly, deliberately, lowered himself to one knee before Maya. "The rite is complete," announced the robed Sylvan, voice trembling. "The human has prevailed." Maya struggled to her feet, her mind reeling from the psychic battle and the sudden flood of Sylvan knowledge now residing in her consciousness. "Hail Emperor Maya Chen," the Sylvan intoned, "ruler of the Sylvan Empire, protector of the 1,000 worlds. guardian of the cosmic dawn. One by one, the Sylvans in the chamber knelt. Maya looked around at the sea of alien faces, all bowed before her, and realized the true magnitude of what she had done. She hadn't just saved Earth, she had inherited an empire. And somewhere in the depths of space, a threat was coming that would test both humanity and the Sylvans to their limits. A human emperor. The first cycles of Maya Chen's rule were chaos. The Sylvan command structure strained against the notion of a human emperor, but their biological imperative to follow the victor of the right of succession prevented outright rebellion. Maya stood on the observation deck of the Imperial flagship, watching as the massive vessel led the Sylvan armada away from Earth's orbit. "They question your first command," said Excel Tarek, the robed Sylvan who had overseen the rite and now served as her chief advisor. "No emperor has ever ordered retreat before." Maya turned from the viewport, her new ceremonial armor shifting fluidly with her movements. The bioorganic material responded to her thoughts, another gift of her new position. "They'll understand soon enough," she replied. The knowledge she had absorbed from Emperor Vorax swirled in her mind. Tactical data, strategic assessments, and the crushing weight of ancient fears. The Sylvan Empire had been running for millennia from the Void Harvesters, entities that existed partially outside normal spacetime. They consumed entire star systems, growing stronger with each civilization they devoured. The Sylvans' desperate expansion was a race to evolve quickly enough to face this threat. "The fleet returning to Sylvan space will give us time," Maya continued. "Time I need to implement changes." Xeltarek's compound eyes flickered with concern. "Changes beyond the withdrawal from human territory." "Much beyond," Maya confirmed. "The Empire has been fighting the wrong war with the wrong weapons." Through her connection with the Emperor, Maya had seen the fundamental flaw in the Sylvan approach. Their hive-like evolutionary history had created a species that valued uniformity and strength through homogeneity. They conquered and absorbed other species to incorporate useful genetic traits, but they discarded what they couldn't understand, particularly the unique cognitive and cultural aspects of other civilizations. This approach had left them with powerful bodies and weapons, but limited problem-solving capabilities. The Void Harvesters were winning because they could adapt faster than the Sylvans. Maya's first month as Emperor was spent in intense study, absorbing information from the Imperial archives, while dispatching messengers to Earth. Her second month was devoted to planning. By the third month, the first human advisors arrived on Silvera Prime. "The Council of Generals demands an audience, Emperor," announced the guard at her chamber door. "They question the presence of humans in the Imperial Palace." Maya nodded. "I expected this. Bring them to the Grand Strategy Room." The 12 Sylvan generals filed into the vast chamber, their ceremonial armor clicking as they moved. They towered over Maya, their biomechanical enhancements making them the most physically imposing specimens of their species. "Emperor," began General Kraz, the eldest among them, "we have followed the sacred law of the right. But bringing untested aliens into the heart of our military planning is exactly what we need." Maya interrupted. "Tell me, General, how many campaigns have you led against the Void Harvesters?" The general's mandibles twitched. 17. "And how many were victories?" Silence filled the room. "None," Maya answered for him. "Because the Sylvan approach isn't working. You fight as you evolved. As a hive, with strength in numbers and biological adaptation, but the Harvesters adapt faster." She gestured to the holographic display in the center of the room, which activated to show a map of known space. Red markers indicated systems lost to the Harvesters. "The pattern of their advance isn't random," Maya explained. "They target systems in order of technological sophistication, absorbing knowledge before resources." This observation, obvious to her human mind, had eluded the Sylvans, whose hierarchical thinking prevented them from seeing patterns that didn't align with their evolutionary experience. "What do you propose, Emperor?" asked another general, her tone marginally less hostile. "An alliance," Maya said, "not just with humans, but with every sentient species in the galaxy." not to absorb them, but to learn from them. Diversity isn't weakness, it's our salvation. The proposal was met with predictable resistance, but Maya had anticipated this. Over the following weeks, she established direct neural links with each general, sharing her understanding of the threat and her vision for the Empire's future. Slowly, their resistance gave way to reluctant acceptance. 6 months into her reign, Maya stood on the command deck of the Imperial flagship once more. This time, she was surrounded not just by Sylvans, but by representatives from 12 species, including humans. The combined fleet is assembled, Emperor, reported Admiral Jenkins, formerly of Earth's Defense Forces. Maya nodded, studying the tactical display. 3,000 ships of various designs and origins had gathered at the edge of the Veil Nebula. Intelligence suggested the Harvesters would emerge there next. All ships confirmed neural network integration, added exalteric. This was Maya's most controversial innovation, a modified version of the synaptic chamber technology that had connected her to Emperor Vorax, now linking the commanders of all allied vessels. "Open the Imperial Channel," Maya ordered. When she spoke next, her words were broadcast to every ship in the fleet and every Sylvan world. For millennia, the Sylvan Empire has fought alone, believing strength comes from uniformity. Today, we prove otherwise. Every species brings unique perspectives, technologies, and ways of thinking. Together, we are not just stronger, we are something new. As she spoke, the neural network hummed with activity. Unlike the Sylvan hive mind, which subdued individual thought to the collective, this network amplified diversity, creating a gestalt intelligence greater than the sum of its parts. "The Harvesters emerge in 3 minutes," announced a tall ray navigator, her tentacles manipulating the holographic controls. Maya took a deep breath. "All vessels, prepare for dimensional shift on my mark." This was the riskiest part of her strategy. Humanity's quantum physicists, working with Sylvan biologists, had developed a way to partially phase ships into the same dimensional frequency the Harvesters used. It would make their weapons effective but expose the fleet to the Harvesters' entropic field. Harvesters detected, called out a sensor operator. 5 capital structures emerging from subspace. The view screen showed massive crystalline formations materializing against the nebula's backdrop, each larger than a small moon. "All ships, dimensional shift now," Maya ordered. The sensation was indescribable. Reality seemed to twist, colors shifting to frequencies her eyes weren't designed to process. Through the neural network, Maya felt the disorientation of thousands of minds adjusting to the altered state of existence. The Harvesters reacted immediately, tendrils of dark energy lashing out toward the fleet. Several smaller vessels were caught and began to disintegrate. "Execute pattern Omega-3, Maya commanded. The fleet responded with perfect coordination impossible without the neural network. Ships moved in complex formations, attacking from vectors the Harvesters couldn't predict, because the attack pattern incorporated tactical thinking from 12 different evolutionary paths. For the first time in recorded history, Harvester structures began to fracture under concentrated fire. "It's working," breathed exalteric, compound eyes wide with disbelief. Maya nodded, but said nothing. Through the neural network, she could feel casualties mounting. Brave souls from a dozen worlds giving their lives. Each loss sent a spike of pain through her consciousness. The battle raged for hours, stretching the dimensional shift technology to its limits. 2 of the 5 Harvester structures had been destroyed, but a third of the Allied fleet was gone. "Emperor," Jenkins said urgently, "the flagship's phase stabilizers are failing. We need to withdraw." Maya shook her head. Not yet. She could feel something through the neural network, a pattern emerging from the collective intelligence of 12 species analyzing the Harvester's movements. "There," she said suddenly, pointing to a specific region of the largest remaining Harvester structure. "All vessels, concentrate fire on these coordinates." The Allied fleet responded instantly, focusing their remaining firepower on what appeared to be an unremarkable section of the crystalline entity. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a reality-bending shudder, the harvester structure began to collapse in on itself, pulling the other structures with it. A cascading failure spread through the harvester formation. "Full retreat," Maya ordered. All ships returned to normal space immediately. The fleet phased back just as the harvesters imploded, creating a subspace rupture that sent shockwaves across light years. When it was over, Maya stood silently on the command deck. Of the 3,000 ships that had entered battle, just over 2,000 remained. But they had achieved what the Sylvan Empire had believed impossible, a decisive victory against the Void Harvesters. "The Empire will never be the same," Zelteric said quietly beside her. "That was the point," Maya replied. "The old Empire was dying. This," she gestured to the diverse crew working around them, "is its evolution." In the years that followed, Maya Chen's rule transformed the Sylvan Empire into the Galactic Concordat, an alliance of equals rather than a hierarchy of conqueror and conquered. The neural network technology evolved into a galactic communication system that preserved and celebrated diversity rather than suppressing it. Earth, once scheduled for harvesting, became a center for cultural and scientific exchange. Human adaptability and creativity, combined with Sylvan biological engineering and the unique perspectives of dozens of other species, created technologies that pushed back the harvesters across 3 sectors of space. 10 years after taking the throne, Maya stood in the private gardens of the Imperial Palace. Her body had changed, modified by Sylvan biotechnology to extend her lifespan and enhance her connection to the neural network. She was no longer fully human, but she wasn't Sylvan either. She had become something new, a living symbol of the principle that had saved the galaxy. Strength through diversity. "Emperor," called a voice from the garden entrance. It was Admiral Jenkins, now visibly older, her uniform bearing the insignia of both Earth and the Concordat. "The Council is assembled," Jenkins continued. "They await your decision." Maya nodded. After a decade of rule, she had proposed a fundamental change to the right of succession. No longer would a single being hold absolute power. Instead, leadership would rotate among the member species, ensuring no single evolutionary perspective dominated policy. "Tell them I'm ready," Maya said, taking one last look at the alien sunset. She had walked into the heart of humanity's greatest enemy and taken their throne. But her greatest victory wasn't conquest, it was transformation. Not just of an empire, but of the very concept of power itself. As she walked toward the council chamber, Maya Chen smiled. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had shown the galaxy a better way to live.